And in the next 30 minutes, we'll take you across stories from around the world. Voting for presidential elections is currently underway. In Russia, the poll is widely expected to cement President Vladimir Putin's power for another 6 years. Polls first opened in the Far East, and 109 million voters are eligible to cast ballots across the 11 time zones of the world's biggest country. Russian Foreign Ministry announced the closure of UK Consulate General in St. Petersburg along with the expulsion of 23 British diplomats. The response came amid a stressed London-Moscow relations over the consequent British punitive measures against Russia and the former Russian spy attack row. Reacting to Russia's expulsion of British diplomats, UK Prime Minister Theresa May said that the move doesn't change the facts of the matter of the poisoning of a former double agent. May said that Russia is in flagrant breach of international law, adding that Britain will consider our next steps in the coming days. One person was killed and one injured after a shooting at Southern California Mall. The county fire department says the victim, who was injured at the Oaks Mall, was to a hospital. Authorities are setting up a safety zone across the street. Britain's opposition Labour Party leader Jeremy Corbyn called for cool heads as he said that a nerve toxin attack on a former Russian double agent and his daughter in southern England should be referred to the Chemical Weapons Convention. Speaking at a regional party conference in Newcastle, Corbyn condemned the attack but said it was important to fully establish the facts before passing the blame on Russian government. A temporary shelter northeast of Damascus was overflowing with evacuees from eastern Ghouta as at least 10,000 people fled the besieged rebel pocket to army lines. An estimated 12,000 to 16,000 people had already left Ghouta before Saturday, while more than 48,000 were reportedly displaced in Afrin. Thousands of civilians streamed out of their towns to escape battles in the north and south of Syria, where two different offensives have prompted an exodus in recent days. A video shows UN aid being delivered to refugees in the northern Afrin region after Syrian Kurdish forces, and a monitor reported people fleeing as Turkish warplanes struck the main town. North Korean and Swedish foreign ministers ended 3 days of talks on the security situation on the Korean peninsula, which may help prepare the way for a planned meeting between US President Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un. North Korea's Ri Yong-ho visited Stockholm for talks with his Swedish counterpart Margot Wallström amid a flurry of diplomatic activity concerning the reclusive country and its nuclear ambitions. U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions fired the FBI's former number 2 official Andrew McCabe Friday, prompting McCabe to say he's being targeted because he's a crucial witness into whether President Donald Trump tried to obstruct the Russia investigation. Now, Sessions said he felt justified in firing McCabe after the Justice Department internal watchdog found the leaked information to reporters and misled investigators about his actions. A senior U.S. official has said that the Trump administration is looking for ways to work with India in terms of providing for the needs of Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh and also to put pressure on Myanmar to create conditions for their safe and voluntary return. Bangladesh and Myanmar agreed in November to start repatriating Rohingya refugees who volunteer to return to Rakhine State, but the process has not yet begun. Sixteen people, including at least 5 children, drowned after a small boat capsized in the Aegean Sea. The incident occurred off Greece's small island, which is close to the Turkish coast. A Greek Coast Guard vessel brought 2 survivors and the bodies of those who drowned to nearby Samos Island. In a telephone discussion, German Chancellor Angela Merkel and Chinese President Xi Jinping discussed overcapacity in world steel markets and agreed to work on solutions within the framework of the G20 group of industrialist nations. The two newly re-elected leaders emphasized close ties between the two countries. Both facing planned US steel and aluminium tariffs and agreed to deepen the strategic partnership. Xi Jinping was elected Chinese president by a unanimous vote Saturday morning at the 5th plenary meeting of the first session of the 13th National People's Congress. 64-year-old Xi was also elected chairman of the Central Military Commission of the People's Republic of China by a unanimous vote. China's Minister of Environmental Protection has said that China has made great achievements on air pollution control and will make persistent efforts on the front. At a press conference on the sidelines of the first session of 13th National People's Congress, the minister noted that China's air quality has been improved significantly over the past 5 years. Crews began the painstaking work of removing debris and cars trapped under the collapsed bridge in Florida on Saturday. The crews, using heavy equipment, lifted large pieces of concrete to free cars that had been trapped for nearly 2 days. Uncertainty over the stability of remaining sections of the bridge hampered rescue efforts. Thousands of protesters, including several migrants stranded in Greece, took to the streets of Athens to march against racism. The protesters chanted "Open the borders" and marched and waved handmade placards. The march takes place days before the UN's International Day for Elimination of Racial Discrimination, which is observed worldwide on March 21st. Thousands of people marched through central Madrid demanding better state pensions and the abolition of security law. The pensioners and the supporters took the lead voice in a march demanding better state pensions after the government of Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy raised pensions by just 0.25% this year, below inflation that stood at 1.1% in February. Venezuelan opposition activists held popular assembly rallies across the country to protest the upcoming elections, which the opposition is generally boycotting because they say conditions are rigged to ensure the ruling socialists retain control. Organized by the Broad Front opposition group, the rallies took place in the capital city of Caracas and 23 other states across the Andean nation. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed that Israel would demolish the house of the Palestinian who ran over and killed 2 Israeli soldiers and wounded 2 others in a car ramming attack in the West Bank. Earlier, several lawmakers said they would work to ensure the Knesset passes legislation to allow the death penalty for convicted Palestinian terrorists. Dozens of Palestinians held a demonstration outside the United Nations Palestinian Refugee Agency in Gaza, calling on donors to keep supporting United Nations Relief and Works Agency. During a donors conference in Rome, the agency said that it has received new cash pledges to enable it to keep working for a few more months, but warned its long-term outlook remained in doubt. Morocco has proposed using 14 stadiums and budgeting to spend $15.8 billion on infrastructure if it wins the right to host the World Cup soccer finals in 2026. However, Morocco will not build any new stadiums for the tournament, preferring to renovate and modifying existing venues and add temporary capacity to others. Ten people were killed after a small plane crashed into a house north of the Philippine capital. The Piper 23 Apache single-engine aircraft operated by Light Air Express had just taken off from a small airport nearby. It was carrying 5 people, including the pilot. Pope Francis visited the shrine town of San Giovanni Rotondo to pay tribute to Padre Pio, one of the world's most popular saints. Francis visited the sanctuary of Santa Maria delle Grazie, where he prayed in front of the tomb of Padre Pio. The body of the Capuchin monk lies in the church's crypt, which was visited by Pope John Paul II in 1987 and Pope Benedict in 2009. Around 1,400 Muay Thai enthusiasts from around the world gathered in Thailand's ancient city of Ayu Thai to show respect to their martial art masters. The boxers took part in the Vai Kru Muay Thai, where traditional boxers pay respect to their revered masters. The sport is known as the art of the 8 limbs, as boxers are allowed to strike opponents with combination of legs, knees, elbows and fists. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge took part in a traditional St. Patrick's Day parade, braving the cold as they visited soldiers at London's Household Cavalry Barracks. Prince William, who is a colonel of the Irish Guards, took the salute at the Irish Guards parade, while his wife Kate Middleton presented the shamrock to officers. Kate also awarded the battalion's mascot, an Irish wolfhound, the same honour. Famous landmarks around the world went green to mark St. Patrick's Day. Global landmarks including the Niagara Falls, the Snow Village in Lapland and the Tower in Tbilisi lit up in green, as well as businesses and attractions in Paris, Bilbao and in Finland. St. Patrick's Day is celebrated every year on March 17 to honour the patron saint of Ireland. In the US, the Chicago River ran green to celebrate St. Patrick's Day as musicians, politicians and revelers paraded through the streets of the Windy City. The annual tradition that is more than 50 years old of dyeing the river draws hundreds of thousands of spectators to downtown Chicago. In Savannah, the United States Vice President and his family attended the parade. An ethics organization in Washington has accused U.S. Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin of billing U.S. taxpayers by needlessly traveling on military and non-commercial jets to the tune of $1 million last year. The documents obtained after a Freedom of Information lawsuit against the Treasury Department showed Mnuchin apparently abused his access to military and non-commercial aircraft for business and personal travel. Iran's semi-official IRNA news agency is reporting that authorities have detained a close ally of former hardline President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. The report says that the office of Tehran prosecutor said police detained Esfandiar Rahim Mashai for investigation. Several of Ahmadinejad's allies are in jail for the misappropriation of public funds. Yemen's government has named brother of slain former President Ali Abdullah Saleh to top army post. A presidential decree named Saleh's half-brother Ali al-Humairi the head of Yemen's army reserve. Insiders say the position is little more than ink on paper, as the troops are effectively controlled by Yemen's Houthi rebels on the ground. Cape Town came alive with beautiful imaginative costumes and floats at the Cape Town Carnival. The annual event is a celebration of the metamorphic power of creativity and celebrates diverse cultures and love for the city. Thousands of spectators line the fan walk in Greenpoint to join the extravagant parade of 1,500 performers in 43 performing groups from 27 different areas. This year's theme is Mother City. The United Nations threw its support behind new elections in Zimbabwe set for July and urged the government to kickstart the African nation's economy as an urgent priority. Administrator for the United Nations Development Programme, Achim Steiner, was in Harare as part of a 3-day trip where he met Zimbabwe's President Emerson Mnangagwa. Australia signed an agreement with Southeast Asian nations including Indonesia, Malaysia, Brunei and Philippines, promising to share intelligence to combat terrorism. Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull announced the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding, in which Association of Southeast Asia Nations agreed to share intelligence, cooperate on lawmaking and counter extremism on social media. Mauritius President Amina Garib Fakim has resigned from the ceremonial position amid accusations of financial impropriety that triggered a dispute between her and the Prime Minister. The president's lawyer, Yusuf Mohammed, told the media that she had decided to resign to prevent any constitutional crisis. An explosion in the Afghan capital Kabul killed at least 3 people and wounded 2 in an apparent attack on a foreign contractor company. The government officials said the killed and wounded were civilians and there were no casualties among the contractors. The police officials said the exact cause of the explosion was being investigated and there was no immediate claim of responsibility. The U.S. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said it is opening a probe into why some airbags failed to deploy in Hyundai and Kia vehicles after crashes in which 4 people were reportedly killed and another 6 injured. The agency also said it will determine if any other manufacturer used similar airbag control units and if they posed a safety risk. Chinese engineers successfully removed a massive expressway ramp to clear way for new sections in the highway in East China's Shanghai. The bridge ramp, being 3,050 tons, was moved 35 meters as a whole by 4 groups of module trucks, making way for a new section on the S26 expressway to connect Shanghai and Suzhou City. A toddler born in Afghanistan created quite a stir following parents' decision to name the baby after U.S. President in the hope that the toddler would replicate U.S. President's success when he comes of age. The name was not to go down well with a deeply conservative Muslim society, which raised objections against what they call infidel name for the baby. News from India now. Top sources say that the Indian High Commissioner has sent a note verbally to Pakistan protesting against intimidation and harassment of Indian High Commission officials. This is the 12th note verbally this year on the matter. India has asked Pakistan to investigate 2 separate incidents where Indian officials were subjected to harassment. Congress plenary session will conclude today. The Congress party will lay out the foreign policy resolution at today's session. The 84th plenary session of the Congress was kicked off in New Delhi yesterday with the Grand Old Party of India calling for reverting to the old practice of paper ballots. At the 84th plenary session, Congress party President Rahul Gandhi took on the ruling government, saying that unlike the ruling Indian government, the Congress will work for the benefit of all the citizens of the nation when it comes to power. Gandhi also charged the ruling National Democratic Alliance for allegedly spreading hate and dividing the country. Flying Officer Bhavna Kant on Friday became the second woman pilot of the Indian Air Force to fly a fighter aircraft solo. Kant flew a MiG-21 Bison from Ambala Air Force Station. The Bison has virtually the highest landing and takeoff speed in the world. The sortie was flown for about 30 minutes. Kashmir's Indira Gandhi Memorial Tulip Garden is all set to welcome visitors. The garden is the largest in Asia, located in the foothills of the Zambarwan Hill in summer, capital of Srinagar, and overlooking the famous Dal Lake. The Tulip Garden attracts thousands of visitors from across the world every year. Around 1.25 million tulips of 50 varieties have been planted in the garden, in addition to the introduction of a hyacinth flower garden and water channels. A regional Indian party protested in southern Chennai city over the recent violence against minority Muslim community by members of majority Buddhist community in Sri Lanka. The protesters carrying flags and placards poured out on roads while policemen surrounded them with barricades. Pop star Camila Cabello has a unique manner of tackling the paparazzi at the Los Angeles airport. Instead of evading the camera, the singer decided to give them a performance. The pop singer is on worldwide tour following the release of her debut album. Actress Priyanka Chopra paid tribute to US students who have taken to streets to demand tougher action against gun violence in the wake of the deadly Florida school shooting. The global star spoke about the student movement during the Global Education and Skills Forum in Dubai, which saw the attendance of a few survivors. Singer Rihanna's single Instagram story against Snapchat for an offensive advertisement featuring her and her ex-boyfriend Chris Brown has wiped out $1 billion from Snapchat's parent firm, Snapchat. Aretha Franklin is cancelling 2 upcoming concerts on doctor's orders. The Queen of Soul's management said that Franklin will not perform on March 25th at the New Jersey Performing Arts Center in Newark, New Jersey. That shows that would have taken place on her 76th birthday.